I'm DJ Led Zeppelin. Welcome to another episode of Let's Rewatch, the show where we watch movies we loved in our youth and see if they're actually still any good. I'm Nick.
I'm Bret.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Ash. I just imagine that's how a Wes Anderson character would introduce themselves.
Maybe.
I don't know. I was trying to be all grand and fancy.
That's how the villain would introduce themselves.
I think that's it. Like, what? How do you define a Wes Anderson character? Fancy?
Droll.
I feel like
What?
they are more fancy than the average human being.
Okay.
Yes.
I think
I'm not disagreeing.
Like,
I'm just trying to put my finger
fucking
on it.
Gwyneth Paltrow is walking around in a fur coat in this movie.
yeah, but she also smoked cigarettes since she was like 8.
But they're like a weird, like they're not completely fancy, but they're like slightly fancier than
It's
normal.
like a fancy British novel wrote really white trash characters.
That's good. Or it's like thrift store fancy.
Ooh,
Yeah,
like
right?
Macklemore.
Yeah.
Is this the visual style or the actual personality style?
Visual.
No, visual style.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were talking character style.
Well, they're like wearing fancy stuff.
Because the character style
Thrift
is
store
like
fancies.
as bored as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good common quality. Bored.
Like, imagine you're really, really excited, and then you say something like, I have never been more excited for anything in my life. You're in a Wes Anderson film.
Whoa, that totally sounded Wes
Yeah,
Anderson.
It really
Wow.
did.
Jesus,
So
nailed it.
I should have been like, and I'm Ash. Wait, no, maybe there's too much attitude.
It's like, and I'm Ash.
There you go. Nailed it.
Can we redo our intro?
No, I just derailed everything.
There is this awesome subreddit. Are you guys active on sub? or active on Reddit?
Active on Reddit sounds like you're a terrorist. And
I was gonna say it sounds like you're a porn addict.
There's this awesome subreddit, Accidental Wes Anderson.
That sounds
People
amazing.
will submit photos, and those photos look like something Wes Anderson shot.
I love it.
And it's interesting. Like, what do you think these photos look like?
there's 3 of something.
There's
all in a row.
bright colors.
They're very
Usually,
flat.
That's
Yeah.
the thing for me. I think they're framed perfectly square.
Yep.
Almost every time. I don't know if it's bright colors. I think of it as pastel colors that are the tiniest bit desaturated.
Yes.
Am I right about that?
Yes. Totally.
I think of like bright aqua when I think of Wes.
I think
Like Darjeeling and
Yeah.
Life Aquatic and
Very colorful, but a very specific type of color palette.
yeah.
Pastel sort of thing.
Or the other argument you could make is just like 70s colors. Like real life 70s colors, not like you're trying to parody. the
like
same
avocado
70s.
green and yellow.
Yeah.
Can I further my own agenda here and posit that they're very, very exciting colors, but like if you were bored with colors,
Oh my god.
So there's one that was on that subreddit in recent memory that I absolutely loved, and I'll show it to Ash first.
Yeah.
But I think this is pretty fucking great.
Oh my God.
All right, let me see if I can show this to you guys. Do you know what that picture is?
that looks like
Like
I
Kim
can't tell
Jong
who's on-
Un and
Oh, that's Kim Jong.
Yeah, so this is the meeting between Kim Jong-un and the president of South Korea, whose name I can't really pronounce.
Sorry, South Korea.
But the border, like the little border village between North and South Korea, they've built these light blue buildings where theoretically they can have meetings, and I guess they're actually using them now. And it's this perfect square Wes Anderson framing, 2 men shaking hands in front of a giant government building with these little blue shacks.
yeah. it's
see, but
pretty-
they're like that aqua, the Wes Anderson aqua.
Exactly.
But it
yeah,
is like
Anderson
a
aqua.
pastel
Yeah.
aqua.
yeah.
But check out this subreddit. It's just full of these pictures that are like, they look like things that Wes Anderson has shot.
Yeah.
Not all of them, I guess. But yeah, it's really fun. And to me, there's a lot to Wes Anderson that's lovable, but that's something. He's got a very, very specific visual style, a very specific way he frames and stages shots very specific color palettes.
Yeah, too bad we're not watching that movie. Anyway, we're watching Usual Suspects. No, I'm just kidding.
See, we did a poll for which Wes Anderson movie we would watch. I was hoping Bottle Rocket would win. Did Bottle Rocket get any votes?
It did. It got
good.
16 votes.
Well,
Rushmore,
thank you, people who voted for Bottle Rocket.
Yeah, Rushmore got 16 votes, so they were even. I was hoping, I think I was hoping either Life Aquatic or Rushmore would win, though I do want to rewatch this movie too. But I actually just saw Rushmore recently for the first time, and it was so charming.
And I've seen Life Aquatic way too recently.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, but Rushmore, when I saw it the first time, I was like, this is my favorite movie of all time.
It's very good.
I haven't watched it since, so I was like, damn it, I want to watch it. I want to know if it's still my favorite movie of all time.
It was pretty charming.
Princess Bride now, I don't know. So
I had also seen Life Aquatic pretty recently, and I think it traded places and is now my favorite movie. It used to be my favorite movie, and then it got overthrown. But man, I love that movie. That's such a
Life Aquatic is one of the best movies.
So
I will
good.
throw it down for sure. Did you say you haven't seen it, Sam?
Not recently, but I love it.
Okay.
I've never seen Life Aquatic all the way through in one sitting.
It's her favorite movie to fall asleep during.
I fall asleep every time. I think it's just so like beautiful. Yeah.
You're just like manifesting the bored Wes Anderson character.
I wouldn't say that. I think it's more just like a bedtime story to me. You know, it's like just real enough with like real life lessons, but just enough fantasy.
It's got those whale noises.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's got, I think, my favorite style of comedy, which isn't always present in all of Wes Anderson's stuff, but he really, really got it with Life Aquatic, which is that sadness is funny.
Yeah, the like deadpan, the sort of Buster Keaton, the Buster Keaton style.
It's how hilarious it is when somebody betrays Bill Murray's trust.
Yeah.
When they actually haven't, he just thinks they have, and he gets so bummed out about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's that one line where they show up on the island with his wife, and she's like, "Your cat died. Snake bit it in the throat." And he just like, it's like, "You couldn't have broke it to me a little easier," and just reaches into his pocket and pulls out a bottle of whiskey.
He's like, "Nope." I love Life Aquatic because I think it's one of the Wes Anderson films that just has some of the best one-liners. Like, Steve, he's got the crazy eye, you know? Or like
firing on all cylinders.
All the interns get Glocks. Like, there's just some great one-liners in that movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we're not watching that.
Well, it is worth mentioning was it about a year ago we went and saw Sue George in concert?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
The Brazilian guitar player who is in the movie. He's part of the crew, but he plays David Bowie songs that he's translated into Portuguese.
On acoustic guitar.
Guitar.
And it's amazing.
I think
that's probably why I like that movie so much, is all the David Bowie music.
It's one element. There's so much to love. But, you know, Sue George does other music. This was a concert specific for his Life Aquatic David Bowie songs. Mm-hmm. And if you ever have a chance to check out, I don't know if he'll ever do that show again.
Well, it was a David Bowie tribute for when David Bowie died.
Right.
Yeah, but I saw it was making another round.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So it might come back then.
Yeah, it's so worth it. I mean, it's one guy on stage with an acoustic guitar, and it's the most dynamic stage presence I've ever seen that be. You know, just one guy on stage, but still it felt like there was a ton of energy.
And he's like he was wearing the jumpsuit, right? With the hat?
Yeah, with the hat.
Mm-hmm.
So great.
I loved his story about how Wes was like, I can't remember which song it was. He was like, well, you know this song, right? And Sue George was like, yeah, let me just go back to my room to practice it. And he completely wrote it there in that moment in like 15 minutes. And it was just amazing. Yeah. Do you remember which...
doing like word for word translation.
No.
He's like reworking the lyrics.
Right.
So that
so rhythmically
and poetically in Portuguese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I understand Portuguese, but the songs are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's not what we're watching. And
Hide your disappointment, please. Jeez.
We're going to watch Tenenbaums, which I kind of feel like there's almost phases in Wes Anderson's career, and I feel like this is phase one. So the first three movies, Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, and Tenenbaums, were the movies that he wrote with Owen Wilson.
Oh,
so the writing is Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson. And then later movies, he started working with Roman Coppola and Noah Baumbach as the co-writers. But these three are like the Owen Wilson movies. You know?
Trilogy, if you will.
Almost. Yeah.
I guess he brings them back for Darjeeling. But did he?
I was
co-write?
I don't know.
I was going to say that feels very similar in tone to this movie.
I don't know if he co-wrote it.
I think Roman Coppola was working on Darjeeling. And of course, Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson appear in a lot of the movies, but these were the three that Owen wrote. Now I have to look at Darjeeling real quick.
Which I will say is my least favorite of his films.
I think that's fair. It's still great.
Really? I didn't think it was that good.
I feel
really
like I'm tied for Darjeeling and this film.
You know, I'm not into Mr. Fox, which...
Oh, wait, I take it back. That's the one. I didn't like that one. That was the worst.
It was Roman Coppola who wrote Darjeeling with him.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of Mr. Fox, did you guys see Isle of Dogs?
Not yet.
And so that's kind of the point of us watching this. We're a little bit behind, but Isle of Dogs recently came out. I haven't seen it.
Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, we went last weekend, and it's incredibly charming.
Aw, cool.
It's really
I wanna
sweet.
watch it.
It's not quite so weird and unsettling like Mr. Fox, you know? Like, there's a little bit of the jitter, but the character of the dogs are really funny. And there's a little bit more of an adventure, I feel like.
Using Nick's analogy, I would say this is a later phase one of his animation stuff. Like, it's real good. But I think if he does another one, it's going to be like perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that was always my problem with Mr. Fox was like I felt like his deadpan style didn't translate to animation. So I'd be interested to see.
This one kind of, I know what you mean. This one kind of,
characters don't communicate the emotion that you need for such a deadpan.
this one
had characters that were appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It feels like almost like an animated Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
To me. Not that it's a love story so much, but just like that kind of that tone, you know, like people that really are kind of in uncharted territory, like exploring and that sort of thing.
And it's kind of like a kid-centric
Yeah.
Okay.
sort of. It's fun.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
I want to
need to
see
check
it.
it out.
I've just been so busy.
Does it have? Is it? No, that's a weird question. But is it dialogue?
Does it have dogs?
Is it dialogue heavy or is it dialogue light or is it neutral?
It's dialogue heavy.
Yeah, dialogue is super heavy.
Yeah.
but,
Okay.
like,
That's pretty Wes Anderson style.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not like necessary. Not all of it's necessary to understand the plot. Usually it's like the typical Wes, like quippy line about what's going on screen.
it's actually kind of fun because it's in Japan and like most of the Japanese characters don't speak English and don't have subtitles.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
That's a surprise. I thought the Isle of Dogs was off of Britain.
It's just it's a thing that's plot related.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's fun because it kind of gives you the perspective like you're a dog. You know, like they're not speaking your language, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
That sounds
So-
super cool.
Yeah, there's several scenes where it's just like, you know, I didn't quite get that, but I get the gist. Let's do this. And
Yeah. It's really fun.
That is fun.
So Wes Anderson and the Willson brothers started with the short film Bottle Rocket in 1994, and then they remade it as a full-length film in 1996. Rushmore followed in 98, and then Royal Tenenbaums, the one we're going to watch, was 2001.
Wow.
So it still feels new to me, but it's 17 years old at this point.
Yeah.
I would have guessed like 2007, like,
Yeah.
but no.
that was Life Aquatic.
Oh, okay.
Life Aquatic was 2004.
Go for?
four.
Wow, look at us. I think that speaks to how kind of timeless his style is.
That's kind of amazing.
How old we are.
That he
Nick, come on.
that like just 3 years later he made another film. Like, damn,
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy.
And I think they just get better and better, up until Life Aquatic. Like, Life Aquatic is the mountaintop, right?
Was Darjeeling after that?
Yeah.
Or the Grand Budapest was really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Grand Budapest was the point, like, if there's the three phases or whatever. I like this analogy a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like Life Aquatic was the mastery phase of his style, and like he's almost moved into this like deconstructing what he already has done. Like Isle of Dogs is very like takes a lot of the things and kind of like flips them a little bit, and it's less about being new and more about being
Exploratory?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this movie is just dripping with amazing actors. And I think that's the most fun to be had in this movie is just the incredible actors. You've got a few who only appear in this movie. Gene Hackman, Gwyneth Paltrow, people like that who...
And then they stopped acting. And
Well, we don't
No,
see
I'm
in
just kidding.
other Wes Anderson movies. But there's a ton of actors here that pop up constantly in Wes Anderson movies. I wonder if you guys have any particular favorites who keep coming up in Wes Anderson movies.
I always love Owen Wilson and God, what's his name? The guy in Rushmore, the main guy.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
forgetting his name.
Why am I
Is he
forgetting
in
his
this?
name?
I know.
He-
I don't know.
I don't think he's in this
Justin
one.
Law. No.
No.
That's a different person. He looks
Look
like him.
Justin Long.
Yeah.
He was in
What's his
the
Jason
Coppola.
Schwartzman.
Jason
Schwartzman.
Schwartzman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, Bill Murray.
Oh,
Yeah, Bill Murray's kind of an easy one. And I don't fault you if that's your favorite because he's really, really good.
Yeah.
Angelica Houston.
Yeah,
I
she's
was
good,
going to say
too.
Angelica Houston. Like, I feel like she's kind of a dark horse. It's easy to
Yeah.
forget about Angelica Houston. And I think in this and Life Aquatic, she crushes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
She crushes everything. I mean, she was so good in what was that?
Adam's Family.
Yeah, Adam's Family.
Yeah, she was such a natural choice for Adam's Family. The way Raul Julia was such a natural choice.
I sidebar, but I was just at Trader Joe's today, and the guy who was bagging my groceries, his name was Gomez, and I just wanted to make so many Adam's Family references, but I didn't.
He would have
I had
hated
to-
you.
He would have. Whatever.
Dude.
I have to deal with the Pokemon references. I'd much rather Adam's Family.
Oh, you know who else is in this who's not in a lot of other Wes Anderson? Danny Glover's in this.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
And do you remember
Don't
the
remember it
narrator?
all.
No, who's the narrator?
I don't know. I want to say who the narrator is. It might be more fun to
Okay,
just
yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Sigourney Weaver? No, I'm just kidding.
There's just a great mix of his regulars and some non-regulars who freaking crush it, I think, in this movie.
Oh, Willem Dafoe. Duh. He's
Yeah.
great. Also.
Wait, Willem
Is he
Dafoe's in
a lot
this?
of them?
I don't think he's in this, but he's in Life Aquatic and Grand Budapest.
Okay.
And he's just fantastic in both of them.
Yeah.
Wait, so is he not in this?
I don't
think
he's
he
in
is.
this.
Sorry.
I don't remember him.
Just naming.
That was like a expectation roller coaster there. I was like, no.
Yeah. Cool. So what are we expecting? Have we all seen it? I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we've all seen it.
I mean, I remember, I'll say, like, I love Wes Anderson movies, but I remember watching this when I was a kid, and I don't think I've seen it since. And to be perfectly honest, I hated it.
Okay.
I
got a
hated it
ball
as a
game now.
kid. And the reason why I think I hated it as a kid was I think I was too young to really appreciate this movie or really understand like the nuances and
Which
in the
sounds
characters.
extremely plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can be too young to get Wes Anderson.
Yeah. And Bryce and I had this conversation where like we both remember this movie feeling so long because we were young.
I remember that too.
Yeah, and I just remember being like, when is it over? And then at the end, like a bunch of stuff happens, and I was like, well, that was cool. But but as a kid, I don't think I got the whole. I don't think I understood that the whole like love thing between the brother and sister either. Like, I don't think it registered to me that that's like not okay at the time because I was a kid, you know? I don't know. Or maybe it didn't even register to me that they were brother and sister because I'm not really sure.
I don't remember that being in this.
Really?
Oh.
It's
like a whole thing.
I think there's a twist. It's not the whole thing. No.
I think there's, if I'm remembering this correctly, it's not quite what you're thinking.
I remember this story being a really powerful, like, look into family and, like, what are the bounds of love? And, like,
Wow.
Okay. Wow. That was profound.
That's funny. I think you contradict my expectations, which are every now and then you get a story where on paper, the story sounds boring as hell.
yeah.
And then the way that story is told is why it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I don't think on paper there's much to this story. I think it comes to life in the production.
Well, that's kind of supporting the whole thing with Bret, right? The like bored but interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
go ahead, Sam.
I want to back up my claim, but it will give away a large part of the plot that I think you're forgetting.
But I think that's fair. Like, I think it's fun that we have cloudy memories of this movie. It'll be more fun to rediscover stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. What I do remember is that this movie has one of the best, like, character introductions
I've heard
like,
that before
in a
about this
series.
movie.
Like, it introduces these characters so brilliantly.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, Brett, what do you expect?
So I actually remember very little about the plot of this movie, and the thing that sits strongest with me from my memory of it is the thought of, wait, was this a comedy? And then, because I'm not laughing, this seems real serious.
Totally.
Oh yeah,
That's exactly how I felt as
it's
a child.
very serious.
Because it was billed to me as a comedy, and now I'm sad.
I'm
Yeah.
glad
that's
you
this
mentioned
movie.
that because have you guys seen the trailer for the
No.
movie? It's
I think-
worth taking a look at the trailer because it's obvious that Wes Anderson had nothing to do with that trailer.
Oh.
That trailer is not a trailer for a Wes Anderson film.
Which makes sense at that stage of his career that
Yeah.
he didn't have that control.
It does, but like go and watch that trailer and like the music in the trailer, they are totally trying to sell it as a comedy. So like I get that, Bret, for sure.
And if you're walking around as a teenager and you equate comedy with Jim Carrey, then this movie is not going to be what you expect.
No.
But it's
Yeah.
it's a more sophisticated comedy.
I was gonna say, is it highbrow comedy?
Yeah, it requires somebody to have some life experience on them to appreciate the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See, I'm saying they're kind of fancy.
kind of
Just
fancy.
a little
Yeah.
fancy. Just a
Sophisticated.
little bit. Thrift store fancy.
Yeah.
Is that your definition of fancy? Is life experience? Look at those punk ass kids. They ain't fancy.
Yeah, looking at kids just being like plebes.
Just wait till you get to be my age and you're fancy.
You said highbrow. Highbrow's fancy.
I'm teasing. I meant in concept, not in the characters.
No.
The film tone
Yeah.
is highbrow.
So I think we're pretty optimistic. I'm excited to see it. It wasn't my first choice, but I'm into it. I think we're gonna have a good time.
Sure.
Sure.
Possibly.
Hopefully. I don't know what to expect. I'm hoping that I watch this and I'm like, oh, here's another wonderful Wes Anderson film that I've been depriving myself from.
I think the thing is as snarky as the internet gets about like Wes Anderson's continuous style. I don't know if you guys have seen the what the guy that does the realistic movie trailer, honest trailers,
Oh, yeah.
Fuck honest trailers.
honest trailers, Wes Anderson thing. It was like, okay, that's kind of dumb, but like,
I saw they put out a video. I haven't watched it yet, though. They're like every Wes Anderson movie ever, right?
Yeah.
yeah. It's but you know, their cases, they're all the same. I don't think they're all the same, but
No.
where was I going with that? Oh yeah, I really like all of the Wes Anderson films that I can remember watching, and so I think the thing that would surprise me most is if this turned out to be a bad movie. Like that would be like the thing I would be least expecting is like, wow, Wes Anderson has a bad movie.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so.
I think people are going to like it.
I feel like somebody calling, I just have to comment on that because I feel like somebody calling all of Wes Anderson movies the same is like somebody calling all of the Marvel movies the same. And they're not. They're just stylistically the same.
I think it's like saying every Stanley Kubrick or every Guillermo del Toro movie is the same.
Yeah.
Like
it's
these
just,
are people
that's
with
his
strong style, strong aesthetics, but they're not the same movie.
I feel
Yeah.
like his videos very tongue in cheek. Like I don't think he believes that they're all exactly the same, but he definitely calls out a common thread within the
Right.
movies.
Yeah, I definitely got a chuckle at the honest trailers thing. But
Yeah.
like, you know, you could
Yeah,
take it or leave it.
They're trying to be funny, so.
So let's watch a movie, and then afterwards we'll try to be funny. So we're going to pause the recording, and we're going to watch Royal Tenenbaums, and we'll get back on the mic and see how we feel. Me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
Boo boo doo 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 doo.
Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. No,
You got
nobody.
any-
Yep.
I don't know.
I don't
any
know
of the lyrics.
Everyone.
Needle
I
in
heard
the
that one at the
head.
end.
Yeah. The only song I recognized was the Elliott Smith song.
Oh, during your most favoritist scene.
Ugh.
Ash was not happy. And you're like, does somebody commit suicide
Yeah.
in this movie?
I like
I'm
remembered
like,
2
not
seconds
answer.
before, and then I'm like, no.
What does it say that they used a song over a scene about suicide from an artist who committed suicide later?
When, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. When did he commit suicide? Was it after this?
2005?
I mean,
I
I
don't
guess
know.
he thematically had depressing.
Well, yeah.
Just a sad dude.
Elliott Smith's music is depressing as shit. It's amazing and really good, but depressing as shit a lot of times.
Yeah.
He's just sad.
As we saw here. So I gotta say, I think this movie is hilarious,
What?
and
I kind of agree.
and I totally get your response, Sam, but I think maybe it's only hilarious to certain people, but it is the funniest movie.
Well, I don't know about funniest, but
It
it
is
had funny moments.
Brilliant.
I mean,
Just line after line after line
Ye-
of incredibly sharp wit, but incredibly understated.
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I get that. I wasn't sure where you were going with that whole thing, but like, yeah, especially Angelica Houston's character. Right? Like,
I mean,
every line that she says is just like, no, not really. Like, it's just,
well, I would say especially Gene Hackman. I mean, he's just funnier than Jim Carrey with this incredible understated tone to it.
he was the dad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's even like just like bit characters that are just like there for one scene, like the doctor examining Richie's eye. That's
yeah.
you have slight corneal impact injury. Call me if it spreads to the other eye. Like
So I'm guessing that you missed the fact that he was one of the guys who worked at the hotel.
oh, was
And
he?
as they were kicking him out of
Which
the
is
hotel,
even better.
he's like, I need you to do me a favor. So when he came to examine him earlier, and all that bullshit about stomach cancer was stuff he was making up.
Oh,
on
that
the
was
fly.
the same guy.
Yeah.
No, I figured, I knew that from the stomach cancer. I didn't realize it was the same guy.
Yeah.
But I was just laughing at the line, like, call me if it spreads to the other eye. Like, that would even happen.
I'm actually pretty sure that happens with eye injuries, but
Yeah. But that when he's talking about the stomach cancer, he's like, how is he going to be? He says, is he a fighter? Like, yeah. Well, then that's his best chance. Like, he's just pulling this whole thing out of his ass.
Yeah, it's so great. But there's just like small one-liners.
Oh yeah.
Like throughout this whole thing that are just little brilliant pieces. For me, the funniest character in the film is Dudley. He steals
really
the
fun.
show and is my favorite character.
Can he tell time? Oh, dear
no.
Lord, no.
Oh no.
And Dudley shakes his head. No.
Yeah. My favorite is when Margot is like, Dudley, where is he at the hospital? And Dudley's like covered in Richie's blood and he's just like, who? So great.
I couldn't help but writing stuff down, like just the brilliance, the hilarious stuff. Like, can I see my grandsons? Why? Because I finally want to meet them.
Yeah.
That is so unbelievably hilarious to me.
Yes, totally.
But it's so understated. It's like, a child watching this would not get these jokes.
Yeah. No, and that's totally why I think I was
so
bored.
Funny. Yeah. And there's one line, and I feel like they might have put the narrator into this movie just for that line. In fact, I think the whole movie might have been written around that one line, which was, he says, these are the best 6 days of my life. And the narrator says, immediately after making this statement, Royal realized that it was true. That is everything that this movie is about.
At
least everything that character is about.
I love that line.
God, that's so good.
It reminds me of like Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Sort of
Yeah.
chiming in.
Honestly,
But we should talk about the fact that it was Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we knew from like the first line, we're like, what?
Yeah.
I actually, surprisingly, this movie reminded me a lot of Big Fish.
Interesting.
I
The
think.
whole father trying to get redemption.
Yeah.
Or father dying.
Not the father dying part, but like the redemption and like
the made up stories.
the maid. Well, sure.
Yeah, that he's a big fat liar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, at what point do you forgive? And like, at what point do you just accept it?
Yeah.
Like, accept who you are and then accept like your vulnerabilities and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is weird that there's some really deep, true family stuff in this.
Yeah.
When he buys the dog from the fireman and gives it to Ben Stiller, again, it's this ridiculous, understated comedy, but it's also beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this moment of like, he kind of forgives him in that moment. He finally recognizes he really is trying in his insane way.
Well, and on top of that, there's like the serious moment of Ben Stiller's character, like finally letting his father in when he says, I've had a really hard year, Dad.
Yeah.
And he goes, I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's like talked to his dad like that in years.
Or
I didn't
ever.
realize that this movie linked with Mystery Men.
What?
Yeah, because Mr. Furious was in this movie,
Yeah.
right?
Oh boy. I love the fact that after he like throws Owen Wilson over the wall and then he jumps down, they're just in this like Japanese Zen garden for their moment of clarity.
Yeah.
It was a visual, literal representation of their mental state.
Yeah.
Like, it was all chaotic before, running around. And that house is very chaotic, where they staged the whole film. It's not your typical movie house where it makes sense. Like, it's very compartmentalized, and they're running around, and it's disorienting and confusing.
Yeah.
And then
it seems very tall, and you're always walking around in circles around those stairs.
uh-huh.
There's no clear path from one place to another.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about the character introductions, Sam.
Uh-huh.
And I totally agree, they were fantastic. But it also kind of reminded me of the character introductions in Amelie. Where it feels very similar in Amelie. It's like, here's this character, here's what they like, here's what they do, here's what they don't like. You know, you get that little quick montage of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Which isn't like a bad thing, but it was very similar.
Yeah, it's just a unique style that I just instantly, I was like, oh yeah, this reminds me of
I think
Amelie.
they were probably right around the same time. I think Amelie is probably 2002, 2003.
Yeah, probably around the same time. I loved how, like, the very first frame of the movie is, you know, it's common to have a movie and the structure be like, here's a book. We open the book and the story is in the book. But what's beautiful about it is they set down the book, open it up, take out the library checkout card and stamp it. Like, there's just something about that feels so Wes Anderson. Just that.
Well, it's the same thing in Rushmore.
Did they do the same thing in Rushmore?
It's very similar in Rushmore.
Okay.
The movie starts with a book. So that was like when you were talking about that video, Bret, that talks about all the Wes Anderson movies. When I was watching this, I was like, yeah, there are several things that appear in his movies, like plays, also in Rushmore, books, hotels, bellhops, escapes. Like people are often like escaping something. And then like Forbidden Love is like a really big one, you know, in his movies.
Yeah, but I was talking about like the phases of like his current phase is just riffing on shit he's done before, and like I saw a whole bunch of Isle of Dogs gags, and like one's very specific one at the beginning, but it's just like, oh yeah, but like he kind of made it better in Isle of Dogs too. So
that's cool.
It's weird to watch something that's this far removed from it, but still so similar.
Guys, I felt hard and I felt deep for this movie again. Like, for reals. Like, I think this is probably one of the most underrated Wes Anderson films.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking great.
Like, and it's subtle, so I think that's why it's easy to forget how great it is. But like,
and that's why it's so brilliant.
Yeah,
because of the subtlety.
And like the characters are so expertly written. Like, you know who everyone is, and like, just every line they say is true to who they are as a character, and like builds upon their relationship with other characters,
while also having a consistent quality across them.
Yeah, they all
very much exist in the same universe.
Exactly. Totally.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, like the whole father at the end of his life trying to redeem himself, like parts that you thought were funny, it just like hurt. Like, it hurt me. Like, it's just so sad and like desperate and just like.
But that's the brilliance is accomplishing both at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is funny because, like, I watch it and I see the comedy, but this movie just makes me sad.
Me too. I think it...
Well, it gets very heavy. Like, there's a point where it's just suddenly you hit a brick wall of, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then it is completely, like, there's the pressure valve, which is what Ash was saying when she comes in and asks Dudley, where is he? And he says, who? You know, that was much needed at a moment of despair in the movie.
Yeah, but those little moments are like so expertly timed. Like right when you need them, they happen.
It's like crushing you.
I'm not gonna lie, like tears were shed over here. It was tough for me to get through.
Good. That's the point of movies. To make you feel something.
Did I just drag the whole thing down? I just made us all really sad.
Yeah, no, we're in despair.
Let's talk about color, because we were talking about it before. And damn, the color was so good in this movie. Like that tent, like that had the Wes Anderson yellow of the tent.
There's like a color palette. There's a specific shade of yellow.
Yeah.
Specific shade of light blue.
Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
It's just, and it's subtle. I don't think like normal people would notice, except for like Ash, who notices all the cinematography stuff, like all the special colors and like just, it sets the mood and it's really cool.
In my opinion, it's a very pastel-y, but also 70s. Like there's rich colors too, but they all, even with the costumes, like Bill Murray's costume with the turtleneck, the purple turtleneck, and then he's got like a orangey blazer over it, you know. Everyone looks like they just walked out of the 70s.
Yeah, the costumes in this were wild.
Which I think is also a strong intentional thing in this movie, that it feel like it's stuck at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
You know, this time when the marriage fell apart and the kids never really grew from that. You know, the closet full of the old board games and the house is just stagnant.
You used to be a genius. Well, that's what they used to say anyway. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's the Wes Anderson aesthetic, but I feel like that stuck in a certain point in time is very intentional with this.
Yeah, but it's not like a period piece, you know? It's kind of ambiguous, like of many time periods, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to place.
It's not like Stranger Things where you're like, oh, this is definitely like stuck in the 80s. It's like modern, but, you know, with.
I want to see the Tenenbaums in the Upside Down.
They just wouldn't care.
Only the Falcon lives.
What's the Falcon's name?
Mordecai.
My brain was just like, Falcor. And then I imagined his voice saying Falcor, and I was like, that's not right.
There were some DVD releases of the Wes Anderson movies at the time where Wes Anderson's brother, I believe, did these illustrations for the DVD covers that are absolutely amazing. There's one illustration of him, of Richie, like releasing the Falcon from the rooftop in this pencil sketch art on the DVD cover. And I don't remember the others, but really, really great stuff. And somehow really matches the style of the movies.
I want to see this art.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before.
You can probably just look up the DVDs on Amazon and see that.
That's one of the neat things about the Wes Anderson films in general, is like his reuse of the casts and like the people he knows. And it's just like, he just wants to make movies with these guys, you know?
And also the Willson brothers. I think there's a third Willson brother, and I think he might have been you remember when she tells the story of how her finger got cut off?
Oh, yeah.
I think that father was the third Willson brother.
Oh.
I need to look that up.
I think I saw, a third Willson name on the IMDb.
I always thought it was interesting that this is a story about siblings, and Luke Wilson and Owen Wilson are not siblings in it.
That was probably the only part that was confusing for me. Was like, they show them as kids, and I'm like, okay, there's 3 siblings, and then they get older, and I'm like, wait, there's 4 siblings? Wait, what? And Bret was like, no, that's the neighbor kid. I'm like, okay.
You hired siblings in a movie about siblings, and they're not playing siblings.
Yep. They also are some of the few siblings that are like undeniably related. Like they 100% look like siblings.
You mean Luke Wilson and Owen Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they both kind of do that talk.
The talk, like the male version of Rachel from Friends.
But it's a little like, I don't really know.
What? Yeah.
Is that your Owen Wilson impression?
I don't. That's both of them, I guess, because they both were doing it most of the film.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson was the farmer father.
Huh.
I just remembered we have seen Andrew Wilson before, and we've talked about Andrew Wilson before.
I was going to say.
Because he was in Idiocracy.
Oh. Was he the Baton?
Supreme. And there was like that big gladiator battle scene.
Yes.
He was like the big beefy gladiator guy.
That dies like right away or something.
I don't remember. There was like a car involved.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how that played out. But yeah, he was Beef Supreme. God, Idiocracy is so good.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got kind of that same Owen Wilson voice.
Like me.
But yeah, I agree. That scene was so great because it was, you're like buckled in for this long dramatic story.
Yeah.
It's just like, set that log down, thwack, the end.
Yeah. And then like the look like, uh-oh. And she's like, oh, okay. And I love the way she started it. You know, like, they're like, what happened to your finger? And she's like, you know, I was adopted, right? And you're like, okay, she's clearly avoiding the finger issue. She doesn't want to talk about it. And then, nope, well, I ran away from home to go find my birth parents. And you're like, oh, she's going there. Okay.
Oh, it was appropriate.
Yeah. It's just a really fun little reversal of expectations.
The other like super fun tiny scene was the old TV video of when he had the breakdown in the tennis match.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's like he's taken off his shoes and one of his socks. I've never seen anything like this.
Who's he looking at there?
And his opponent was named Gandhi. Like they had the title on the screen with the scores. His opponent was Gandhi.
I didn't notice that.
Did you ever see the Andy Samberg tennis movie?
No.
It like looks a lot like that. Like they shot it stylistically to look dated.
Now is that a movie about John McEnroe or is it just like a joke?
I don't know. I never finished watching it. I think it's on HBO.
Oh, no. There's a new movie. Shia LaBeouf is playing John McEnroe.
Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf?
I haven't heard about this. Has he eaten people?
There's a music video.
So yeah, I guess the Sandberg thing is something else. But yeah, the idea of a tennis player getting angry is just hilarious. It's like this gift that John McEnroe gave the world. It's like, it's supposed to be such a chill sport. Why are you so angry, man?
Because sports.
I feel like most of the clips I see of tennis are angry people.
Yeah, they just like,
Every single hit.
Throwing rackets.
I don't know why, but I was like researching a scene the other day. And so in YouTube, I'm doing this tennis scene. So I was researching shots. And on YouTube, I typed in tennis. And all I got was videos of naked people playing tennis, which...
Ash, what are you looking up?
YouTube?
All I did was type in tennis. That's all. And it's like all like half naked.
Girl, somebody's watching porn on your YouTube account.
It's like this. What is seriously though? It's this guy and this topless woman like boning down on the fucking tennis court.
Yep.
It's like 10 videos.
Weird.
Yep.
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
That's insane.
Here, I'll
Nope. We don't need to see this.
If you want to pollute your...
I heard that was like a
It's
YouTube
already
problem
happened.
recently. Like they were having a bunch of weird...
But like, you don't
YouTube?
understand. It's not like it's porn. It's like apparently this actually happened. So it was a bunch of like news clips.
So
Like this isn't porn.
This
actually happened.
this
It's a
brings us
documentary.
to the very easily debatable topic of what is truly porn?
Well, it's
Boy.
news porn,
Wow.
right? It's
News porn.
absolutely the most true definition of something that isn't news, and yet they just can't help
I
themselves.
mean, isn't CNN news porn?
Look, what is happening in that picture?
Oh, I mean, not that I'm asking you to do so, but have you played the clip?
No, I have
what's
not.
the
played
okay? Well, what's the thumbnail? You still have it up?
That
Yeah.
It strikes me as link bait. You know, people make thumbnails to make you click.
The video is called "Top 10 Most Hottest, Funniest Moments in Tennis."
Oh boy.
Yeah, that is a.
All you
link
need to
bait
do is
central.
look at the thumbnail. I'm not gonna click on it, and then like here's another shot. Like clearly this really happened. I don't know.
Or they're using
Sorry.
the same terrible stock photography website to get their thumbnail
Maybe.
images.
I was cruising through a bunch of thrift stores looking for props for a project the other day and found that there is literally an infinite supply of golf clubs and tennis rackets in thrift stores.
There are a lot.
So like, did Wes Anderson invent hipsters before hipsters?
Absolutely.
Is there like a hipster start date?
Technically the 70s, actually. I have looked this up before.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Well, is that the
invented it.
term, or is that like our modern definition of what a hipster is?
Well, I think the definition of what a hipster is has changed over time because fashion has changed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
But the real definition of hipster just means like a trendy person.
A try-hard, if you will.
that's the new definition of hipster would be try hard. Right?
I don't know. I mean, was that a try-hard look in the 70s? I have no way of knowing.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he invented it, but he definitely made movies for them.
Are we living in post-hipster society now?
I don't know.
Wow. Wikipedia doesn't even mention fashion. It just says the hipster subculture is stereotypically composed of younger and middle-aged adults who reside in primarily gentrified neighborhoods.
Gentrified?
White people. Young white
like,
adults. And honestly, I can't disagree.
But I don't, you don't have to live in a gentrified area to be a hipster, right?
I think it's an evolving term.
I wonder if that's like an outliers thing. Like, you don't have to be, but there's a lot of them there.
Urban Dictionary defines it as hipsters are a subculture of American consumer for whom the idea behind the marketing holds more value than the product being marketed. Whoa, that's completely different.
You just wrinkled my brain. So, I don't know. I guess we don't have too much more to say if we all kind of really liked it.
I want to talk about the fact that this family had a servant and they were fancy as fuck.
That's a weird word, servant. I mean, I think a lot of wealthy families have a staff. Mm-hmm. The servant suggests that
a servant who apparently is broke and has no money and is not paid.
Because he had to spend all this money to bail Royal out of trouble.
Yeah, maybe. It was still weird, though. Can we agree that it was weird?
It was a little weird.
I love so Henry and Angelica Houston, whatever.
Ethel.
Danny Glover and Angelica Houston are going out for the night, and he says something that kind of upsets her, and so she says, "You know what? I don't think I'm going to go out tonight."
Yeah.
And so Pagoda just closes the taxi door.
Yeah.
I don't have to fucking help you anymore. I love it.
It's just that loyalty there,
So great.
Good. And the way he stabs Royal.
Yes, that was so great.
Even though he helped him in everything. What?
See, another reason you should always carry a Swiss Army knife.
He got him fired, though, so he got a stabbing.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. It's funny. I feel like that character is the only one that's ever honest with the dad. Or, I guess not honest, but, gives him what he deserves.
I like that he's the one who knows when shit is up. They do that whole intervention with Owen Wilson, and he's like, "All right, I'm just gonna go grab my coat or whatever," and just runs for it, and Pagoda just walks right over to the window. There he goes.
Or when Danny Glover proposes to her, he's just sitting in the window, listening.
Well, he takes off his headphones.
Yeah.
So he was wearing them before, which implies that he just instinctually knew what was happening in the room.
Or he wasn't actually listening to music.
I mean,
spy.
Even with my empty headphones on, I don't think I could hear what was happening on the other side of my window.
Maybe he's got what's the syndrome that kid had?
It's actually, he's listening into a microphone in the room.
Oh.
On his headphones.
Then why would he take the headphones off?
Because he couldn't handle the truth.
So, did you guys notice the Spielberg oneer shot in this film?
Ooh.
I'm curious if it was just me who noticed it.
I wasn't looking
Are you
out.
talking about the run through the house?
No. There's an entire scene in this movie that's one shot.
Well, I think most of the scenes are one shot.
Most of the scenes, there's scenes that hold on one shot for a very long time, but this was the Spielberg oneer in the sense, and I didn't coin that term. That's every frame of painting on YouTube coined that term, but the scene on the bridge where Margot and what's his name? Elliot?
Eli.
Eli? Oh, Eli. They're breaking up. It's one shot that starts in a wide and it moves into over the shoulders, and then it moves into singles, and then it moves back into a 2-shot because she steps back into his frame as a 2-shot. And again, it's these characters connecting, disconnecting, reconnecting, and then it pans over and zooms into the PI on the roof across the building, and the whole thing is one shot. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, thinking about it, that's a pretty cool shot.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 different shots in one.
I guess I didn't pick up on it until like that last swing around.
Yeah, when it zooms in.
And then the zoom, and I was like, oh, like they didn't cut there, but I didn't realize it was from the beginning of the scene.
Yeah. There might be like a shot of her walking and then a shot of him walking, and then it cuts to this one single shot, but pretty much the dialogue portion of the whole scene is just this one Spielberg-y type shot that was pretty great.
Sam was asking me at the time if I thought that they had painted the bridge for that shot too.
Oh yeah, the bridge was aqua. And I was like,
I would not be surprised.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like just a little too perfect.
I also really enjoyed in the run through the house the very clever swap of the priest walks through the frame, walks barely out of frame, and then one of the guys comes around and pushes him down the stairs, and he goes all the way down the stairs, which I think was just a clever swap from the actor playing the priest to a stunt guy who could fall all the way down the stairs.
Interesting.
It was kind of perfect the way they put that together, and it was still completely chaotic.
The line at the funeral where Alec Baldwin is like, the priest's ankle still hadn't healed, and then he walks on it, and you hear this horrible grinding. So, oh my God.
I mean, I love that funeral scene. Like, nobody spoke a word. And like, I don't know.
But then the kids are like, fire!
Yeah.
And they shoot their guns like immediately.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's so funny because they still aren't over the pain that their dad caused, but like they've kind of grown to love him. And it's like, I feel like all of them have kind of an intangible relationship with their dad that they can't really put words to, which is why that whole scene is silent.
And there was the earlier scene when they were in the cemetery and he sees that gravestone and it was father of 9 children, drowned on the Caspian Sea. And he's like, that's a hell of an epitaph. I wish it was mine. And then at the end, it's his gravestone and it was like, died rescuing his children from a sinking battleship.
Yep. And he had written it and he asked to proofread it. And it's totally not proofread at the end.
Oh, that I didn't notice. Were there errors in it?
What looked like a couple spelling errors. It might have been just a weird font, but it looked like it.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was curious to know what everyone would want on their made-up tombstone.
Do you have one to start us off with?
I do. I didn't create this, but it's one that I think is pretty funny that I've seen on the internet, but it's responding in 3, 2, 1, just like video games.
That's good.
Oh man, I'd have to think about that for a while.
Yeah, I don't want to dump on the game, but I don't have anything clever that I would do.
It's hard because if you're gonna make a joke, it's got to be like a joke that's good for the rest of ever. Like that's the last joke you get to make.
I want to be a...
Yeah,
true.
Don't screw that one up.
I don't want a headstone. I want to be a haunted tree.
That's pretty good.
I really don't think you can beat father of 9 drowned in the Caspian Sea. Like, that's pretty dope.
You're just gonna steal that one?
What if you just have an arrow to the next person's thing and you say that's pretty dope? Like, you're just...
I mean, I guess the ideal is if you could have some magic tombstone that always displays the name of the person looking at the tombstone.
Like a mood ring?
Well,
but for a tombstone?
So everybody looks at it and they have that, like, it's my own grave.
Oh, God, like Harry Potter in that mirror? You know?
Or, I was thinking Doctor Who.
I haven't gotten that far. There's a mirror?
I think you have.
then I've forgotten the mute.
Oh my God. Wait, no. I got it. I want to change my answer. Can it be Ash has left the library?
Oh.
Oh boy.
I think that's pretty good.
This got me thinking about you remember at the Hollywood Cemetery, there's a bunch of tombstones that just have, instead of like real epitaphs or whatever, it's just realistic uncanny valley portraits of the people that are buried there.
Oh, yeah.
And that just...
Is it really?
Yeah, and it just seems like
Ugh.
they're not good enough to be really good portraits, and that just seems like the best way to horrify people for generations. It's probably what I'd go with.
Mm-hmm.
Like Steve-O and his back tattoo.
I want a hologram of myself to dance across my grave whenever somebody's standing there.
That's pretty great. Can you just, instead of having anything on the front of your tombstone, can you just have like a lower tramp stamp on the back of your tombstone?
Yes. Just the butterfly.
Wow.
Oh, I thought you meant like his tombstone was like a butt.
Oh, God.
Just the
That's actually pretty good, too, actually. So, listeners, tell us what you want on your tombstone.
Wow.
tombstone is just a butt.
Just a granite butt.
If your tombstone was a butt, would you like have the words go on, you want to touch it? Like in
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that there's much to say. I just think that is one of the funniest, yet restrained and calm and subdued, absolute laugh out loud hilarity. And while still being this like emotional family story, I freaking dig this movie.
yeah.
Bored yet funny.
Bored yet funny. Courtesy of Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
will say it still felt fucking long.
It felt a bit slowly paced,
Yeah.
especially in the very beginning.
Oh, I would have said the opposite. There was like
Yeah.
a little bit like after the suicide, but kind of,
Yeah, it slowed down again.
yeah, just a little bit like, and it picks back up, but it kind of felt like maybe 15 minutes could have been trimmed from that like last
Yeah.
quarter.
Just kind of lulls in towards the middle-ish end.
Could have been tightened up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a deal breaker. It was just like in an otherwise like almost perfect movie. That's like my one.
Gave them room to improve when they made Life Aquatic, which is pretty freaking perfect.
I think it also feels long because, like, really not a lot actually happens.
What? I feel like so much happens.
But, like, really, they all move back in together. Richie tries to commit suicide and the mom tries to get married. And, like, that's kind of all that, like actually happens. And I'm not talking about like character, obviously there's like a bunch of emotional character stuff that happens, but like Life Aquatic, they like get kidnapped by pirates and like, they like steal stuff from a sea laboratory and like, shit happens. But this movie I think it feels slow paced because like physically not a lot happens.
It's a really small story.
Yeah. There's just like a lot of backstory in the beginning, but the actual like plot of the movie, not really that much
I guess
goes on.
it's not a lot of action, but it's a lot of like character based plot points.
I just mean like, physical things happening. I feel like that might be why it feels a bit slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of his other films kind of keep up the character interactions and like lots of talking, but also move through a lot of different stuff. And this had a lot of the talking, but not a lot of the moving.
Yeah. And they're always in the house. It's like we don't really leave the house that often. I think that's what makes it feel kind of stationary a lot of times. Unlike Moonrise Kingdom, like we've got like that great house, but they get out and they move and they camp at different locations, and it just makes the changing of scenery just helps I think, the pacing of the film.
So is that your final thought, Sam, or is there more to tack onto that?
No, I think I have more final thoughts. I don't know, like, this movie to me kind of feels like going home, which is what all the characters are doing. And I'm not quite sure, like, why it feels that way to me. Because honestly, I've only ever seen it once before. But I think it's just like, I don't know. I think it's just the way it's written and the way the dialogue is. And I love the way that Wes plays music in his stories. Like, he's not afraid to give...
Wes.
Wes Anderson, I don't know. Am I not allowed to be on a first name basis with these people? I don't know. Mr. Anderson uses music in
That's Neo.
his film. No,
Mr. Anderson, how are you going to make a film if you can't move the camera?
And then the camera fuses to his head.
no. I mean, I like that he gives music a space, you know, and he leaves room and the dialogue and the editing for music to kind of take center stage.
Yeah, and I was trying to think, you know, he has this very unique sensibility of selecting music. And I was trying to think, who does that remind me of? I mean, obviously James Gunn a little bit with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Maybe it's Tarantino that I'm thinking of. Like, people have a very specific sensibility to the music they put in their film.
Yeah.
Well, are you sure you're not
this
thinking
one-
of Baby Driver and Edgar Wright?
Well, what I'm thinking of is like people who have several films, and across several films, you can find a very specific sensibility to how they choose the music.
Yeah.
Like, the guy who chose the music for Life Aquatic and Rushmore is the same guy who chose the music for this.
Yeah.
It feels like that.
It feels like
I
this.
think Tarantino does that as well.
Yeah. It feels like this had the same composer as Life Aquatic, too.
Yeah, very likely.
Yeah.
Brett, what do you think? You hated it, right?
I did not hate it. Yeah, have you seen F is for Family?
No.
It's on Netflix.
Is this okay.
It's a cartoon with like a shitty 80s dad who yells at the family all the time, and it's supposed to be funny. I feel like that's this movie, which is, there's a lot of, I can recognize how awesome and brilliant the movie is, but I didn't really enjoy it too much. And
Like, none
What?
of the characters are good characters, really, except for Richie.
yeah, they're all kind of bummers, and it's
Dudley is a pure spirit.
Well, Dudley's the best character in the movie.
yeah, it's just I had a similar thought about the music, which is like, there's a few scenes in this movie that, like, you know, I've lived out with my family, and like watching it is like, oh, this music is making you feel a certain way about the scene. That's like, definitely the scene wouldn't play like that without the music.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, it's just one of those things where, like, there's, you know, don't want to bum everyone out, but the shitty family stuff is hard to laugh at, I guess, sometimes. But I could recognize how witty it was, and I still liked it. It's just, yeah, less funny.
It hit you too deep.
Too grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets too real.
Yeah, I feel like you just don't really have a person to root for in this movie because everybody's kind of being shitty to other people.
Well, they're not assholes. They're just kind of a son of a bitch. So what do you think, Ash?
I thought I really liked the beginning, but I liked this a lot more than I did when I first saw it. It's still not my favorite Wes Anderson film. I kind of have the same problems as Bret. Like, I just didn't find that I don't like any of the characters except for Dudley. God rest his soul.
He didn't die.
Yeah, wait, what?
You don't know that. Maybe his disease, you know, he can't even tell time, for God's sake. It's only a matter of time. But it just doesn't quite have the same charm as other Wes Anderson films for me, because I think I just can't really root for any of the characters in this version or this film. I don't know, but I really thought it was funny. I thought it was a fun watch, but I still felt like it was a bit slow.
So watch Life Aquatic instead.
Yes,
Yep.
I think I could agree.
I think I like this better than Life Aquatic.
Oh,
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I do think Life Aquatic is better, but man, I love this movie.
Me too. I'm with you, Nick.
So I think that's it for this episode of Let's Rewatch.
yeah. If you like the show, this is part of the Laugh Stash TV network of content. It's the podcast and a YouTube channel where we've got a cooking show, a drinking show, video game parodies, and a lot of other fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I
Those
agree.
things. Yeah, you can. We're Laughstash TV on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Laughstash TV, or you can follow this podcast, which is at Let's Rewatch, where the good people tweet at us. Like,
And the bad people go to hell.
who tweeted us? Hold on. Oh, I thought it was interesting. Mitch was tweeting about how he's just not really into Wes Anderson's style.
Mitch, why?
But it was interesting, you know, people have different perspectives. But he was arguing that despite him not being into Wes Anderson's style, this is his favorite of the films.
Interesting. I would guess if you're not a Wes Anderson fan, that this would not rank high on the list.
Yeah, I would assume that.
Well, I think this might be the least Wes Anderson of the Wes Anderson movies.
No,
Like-
it feels so Wes
it's like
Anderson.
not. I mean, I'm thinking of all the current
would've-
stuff, I guess.
I would agree with you, though, Brett. I feel like the beginning of this film feels very Wes Anderson, and then it kind of falls away a bit.
I mean, Bottle Rocket, I guess, is like way more normal than this, but
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of a cop-out because it's the first one and not a lot of people have seen it, but I don't feel like he had completely found that style yet.
I feel like Rushmore was super Wes Anderson, and then this maybe
Yeah.
was
My memory of
less so.
Rushmore is that it was less stylized, though. Like, visually.
It's still pretty stylized.
Yeah.
I think it might have less colors, but in my opinion, Rushmore had more of the Wes Anderson style, especially at the end. It like ends with this big play and like there's a lot of colors and you know, it just feels very Wes Anderson-y. The characters feel more Wes Anderson-y, I think, in Rushmore too.
Yeah. And the editing, too. Like, there's a lot of slow motion walking to really cool vintage rock songs. It's my memory of Rushmore. So if you liked our podcast, please give us a good review on iTunes, Google Play Music, or Spotify.
So make sure your podcast feed is up to date and tell your friends we'll be doing this again in another 2 weeks for more Let's Rewatch.
Do you like the rock band Kiss?
Of course.
Because if so, next week you'll enjoy watching Kiss meets The Phantom of the Park.
That movie's awesome.
What?
What the fuck is the Phantom of the Park?
They save an amusement park.
Is this true?